Okay, we're going to multiply polynomials. And so we're going to do a little bit of a quick review here and say that if we are multiplying, remember the exponent rules that we learned. If we're multiplying, we add the exponents. So we still multiply the coefficients. 7 times 3 is 21. And then we have x, and we have a 1 plus 1 makes 2, right? Okay, so we added the exponents. So basically, we're only dealing with x squared and maybe x cubes today. So number 2, we multiply the coefficients, which 2 and negative 6 is negative 12, and then x times x is x squared. And then something you need to know is how many terms are in the following expression. And so terms are separated by plus and minus signs. So the first term is 2x and the second term is negative 8. So there are 2 terms in this expression. Number 4, it says combine like terms in each of the following expressions. So this is what we practiced, just adding polynomials. So we have a 7x plus 2x. 7 plus 2 is 9x. And those are like terms because they both have an x. And then I have negative 3 and positive 9, which makes a positive 6. If I come over here to number 5, 6x squared, if I look through the rest of these, there are no other x squared, so I just bring that down as part of my answer. And then I have 8x and negative 2x, which makes positive 6x. And then I also have a number here, but there's no other number, so I bring it straight down. And we're going to need all of these pieces to multiply today. We're going to need to be able to multiply and change our exponents, know how many terms there are, and be able to combine like terms. So the question here is how many terms are in each set of parentheses? And that's very important if you use a particular method. So there are 2 ways that I will let you, I'm okay with you multiplying polynomials. One way is by using distributive property, which says that you take the first term and you multiply it by everything in the second set of parentheses. So 7x times 3x is 21x squared. 7x times 4 is 28x. But you're not done yet. Then you take the second term and you multiply it by everything in the second set of parentheses. So you're doing double distributive property. So 2 times 3x is 6x. I'm going to line up my like terms. And 2 times 4 is 8. And then we add straight down. I get 21x squared plus I get 34x plus 8. And that's my final answer. Okay. And how we check our answers is we go to a calculator. So go to your calculator. We're going to go to a graph page. And right here where it says f of x, we're going to start typing in the question. So the question was parentheses 7x plus 2 times 3x plus 4. Yes, you need to put in all of the parentheses. We get a parabola, this U-shaped graph, which we'll be talking about. Then press tab, though, and type in your answer right there where it says equal. So I have 21x to the second power plus 34x plus 8. And if these two things are the same, then they should overlap. And they do. They line up with one another. So that is how I check my answer on these types of problems. Now, something else, though, is if you don't like distributive property, then you could use what we call the box method. In the box method, just make sure that you know how many terms. There are 2 terms, and there are 2 terms, so 2 by 2 gives me 4 boxes. And we set them on the outsides. It's like a Punnett square. So I have x, and I have a negative 5. And then on the side here, I have another x and a negative 8. and I just multiply. X, what gives me this box? X times x is x squared. And then this box here is x and negative 5, which gives me negative 5x. And then I have x and negative 8 to get to this box, so that's negative 8x. And then I have negative 5 and negative 8 multiply gives me a positive 40. Now, once you multiply to fill in the box, and then let's make a note of that, multiply to fill in the box. Okay, then add like terms. So my like terms here are diagonal from one another. And I always like to say that this right here helps you remember to add. And this part would give you negative 13x. But you still have to write out your final answer. You would have x squared minus 13x. And then 40 is positive, so I put plus 40. So I'm going to keep practicing these both ways, and you can pick which method you like. Either use distributive property or use the box method. So number 8. This part right here, that little 2, means that there are 2 of these. So I'm going to rewrite this as 4x plus 8 and 4x plus 8. Because you need to remember that if you're using distributive property or you use the box, you write it on the top and the side. So now, to practice distributive property, I take the first term times everything in the second set. So 4 times 4 is 16, x times x is x squared. And then 4x times 8 is 32x. And then I take the second number, positive 8, and I multiply it by everything as well. 8 times 4x is 32x. 8 times 8 is 64. Add up my like terms, which are just the center. So I have 16x squared plus 64x plus 64. Number 9. If I do the same thing, I could distribute, or I could use the box method. So pick which method you like. If I use the box method, I put the first set on top. It's just usually what I do. 3x minus 7. And then I take the second set, I'm going to put it on the side, 6x and a positive 1. And remember, we multiply to fill in the box. So what goes to this, like a Punnett square? 3 times 6 is 18x squared. Okay, go across. 6x times negative 7 is negative 42x. 3x times 1 gives me this box here. That gives me 3x. And negative 7 times 1 gives me this last box, negative 7. Add up my like terms. Okay, and that gives me negative 39x. And then I write out my final answer. I have 18x squared, which is the first term. My middle term is minus 39x, and my last term is minus 7. Again, we check this by going to a graph page. So I'm going to go to a new graph page, and I'm going to type in the question. The question was 3x minus 7 times 6x plus 1. Then if I press tab, I type in my answer, 18x to the second power minus 39x minus 7. And what happens is they overlap, which is what we want because they're supposed to be equivalent. Okay. Number 10. Try one more time here with the distributive property. I'm going to take this first term and multiply by everything in the second set. So x times x is x squared, and x times negative 3 is negative 3x. And then I'm going to take the second number, which is 3, and multiply it by everything. So 3 times x is positive 3x, and 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. This time I don't know why I didn't line them up, but my middle terms, negative 3 plus 3, cancel out. And so I'm left with x squared minus 9. And then the last one, here's where you really need to know your terms. I have 2 terms, and then here I have 1, 2, 3 terms, and 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6, which is why I have 6 boxes. Now I usually say to put the first one on top, but I didn't line my boxes up that way. I lined them up horizontally, so my first term, my first parenthesis only has 2 terms, so it's going to actually have to go on the side this time, which doesn't matter, as long as you keep your whole set of parentheses together. And then this one's going to go on top, x squared minus 8x plus 3. And we're going to multiply to fill in the box. So this is 2x times x squared, which is 2x to the 3rd power. And then 2x times negative 8x gives me negative 16x squared. And then 2x times 3 is 6x. I'm going to come down here. I have x squared times 9, which is 9x squared. And then negative 8x times 9, which is negative 72x. And then 3 times 9, which is 27. And then here we add like terms, but I have 2 sets of like terms, and they're diagonal from each other if we set it up correctly. So I have negative 16 plus 9, which gives me negative 7x squared. And then I have negative 72x plus 6x, which gives me negative 66x. And now I write out my final answer. First term, 2x to the 3rd power. Second term, minus 7x squared. Third term, minus 66x. And the last term, plus 27. Okay? All right, at this point, you are going to practice this, and if you turn your paper over, you will see multiplying polynomial quizzes. So here are all the questions, but you need to go to Google Classroom. And click on the quizzes assignment, and it will give you some multiple choice to help you know that you're going in the right track. Also, use your calculator to check your answer, because if you use your calculator to check your answer, you should be able, sorry about that. If you use your calculator, you should be able to get them all correct. Okay? All right, so this is counting as a grade today.